More than 170 million albums sold. A name so massive that people who've never listened to a country song still know exactly who he is. He walked away from stardom at the top of his game, came back entirely on his own terms, and was still selling out stadiums in his 50s. So how does a man like this end up, at 63, tangled in a lawsuit spanning 2 states, watching a brand new bar get shredded in reviews the week it opened, losing a large slice of his most loyal fans over a beer brand, and reportedly weighing a move out of the country entirely? This isn't one bad week. It's several storms hitting at once, and the details go deeper than most people realize. On October 3, 2024, a legal complaint filed in a Los Angeles court sent a shockwave through the country music world. The woman behind it is known in the filing only as Jane Roe, a hairstylist and makeup artist who had worked for Trisha Yearwood since 1999 and who joined Brooks' own personal team in 2017. According to her account, the professional relationship changed once he became aware she was struggling financially, and she alleges he used that vulnerability against her. The claims in her filing are graphic and specific. She says that in 2019, Brooks asked her to accompany him to Los Angeles for a Grammy tribute event, only for her to discover on arrival that he'd booked one hotel suite, one bed, for the 2 of them, and that he assaulted her there. She also describes a separate incident at his home, alleging he stepped out of the shower, pulled her hands onto his body, and made explicit comments. Altogether, the complaint spans 2019 to 2024 and alleges a pattern: harassment, battery, and what her attorneys call the deliberate exploitation of her financial dependence on him. Here's where it gets messy. Before Roe ever filed publicly, Brooks had already gone to court first. In September 2024, under the name John Doe, he filed a Mississippi lawsuit accusing her of attempting to extort him for millions in exchange for staying quiet. He compared it to having a gun pointed at his face. Paying anything, he said, would look like an admission of guilt. He denied every part of her account. What followed was a legal tug-of-war. His team pushed to dismiss her California suit and move everything to Mississippi, a state without anti-SLAPP protections, which would have made it far harder for her to fight back in public. Her lawyers called that maneuver a bad faith attempt to silence her. A California federal judge rejected his motion to dismiss in December 2024, though the case was paused while Mississippi played out. Then, in May 2025, the Mississippi case was tossed as moot, leaving California's case still open. By early 2026, both sides were requesting a jury trial. This one isn't close to finished, and every month it drags on adds more weight to the story. To understand how big a fall this could be, you have to understand what Brooks actually built over 3 decades, because almost no one in any genre has matched it. Born February 7, 1962, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, he was the youngest in a blended family. His mother had once recorded for Capitol and performed on the Ozark Jubilee. His father worked as a draftsman in the oil industry. The family held talent nights at home, and young Garth picked up guitar and banjo. Though through high school, sports came first: football, baseball, track. His first attempt at Nashville, in 1985, failed. He went home, finished a degree in advertising at Oklahoma State, and tried again in 1987. This time it stuck. What set him apart wasn't just his voice. It was the show. While most country acts of the era played it straight and traditional, Brooks brought arena rock energy. Leaping across stages, smashing guitars, pyrotechnics, elaborate lighting. He wasn't trying to fit into country music's mold. He was rebuilding it. His self-titled debut landed in 1989. No Fences followed in 1990, becoming one of the best-selling country albums ever. Then Rope in the Wind in 1991 became the first album in history to debut at #1 on both the Billboard Country Chart and the all-genre Billboard 200 simultaneously. By the mid-90s, he was filling stadiums no country act had ever filled. His Central Park show in August 1997 pulled somewhere between 750,000 and 1 million people, one of the largest concert crowds in American history. He's the only artist to have 9 albums certified diamond, surpassing the Beatles' old record of 6. 2 Grammys, 17 American Music Awards, 22 ACM Awards, 10 CMA Awards, membership in both the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and the youngest ever recipient of the Library of Congress Gershwin Prize. Worldwide sales top 170 million, making him, by SoundScan's count, the best-selling solo artist in American music history. His net worth as of 2024 was estimated near $400 million. That's the foundation now under strain. And the distance between that legacy and today's headlines is exactly what makes this moment feel so jarring. While the lawsuit was detonating in fall 2024, a separate PR headache had already unfolded earlier that year. On March 7, 2024, Brooks and Yearwood opened Friends in Low Places Bar and Honky Tonk on Nashville's Lower Broadway, a four-story, 54,715-square-foot venue, the largest honky tonk on the Strip. Live music stage on the ground floor, balcony seating above it, event space on the third floor booked out years in advance, and a rooftop bar called the Oasis up top. Yearwood built the food menu herself from her own cookbooks. Brooks had bought the building in 2021 and spent 3 years talking about the concept. He wanted, in his words, the Chick-fil-A of honky tonks, a place where people felt safe and welcomed, where classic country played, name-checking George Strait and Merle Haggard as the sound he was going for. The whole opening was even documented in an Amazon Prime docuseries that dropped the same day the doors opened. Then the reviews came in, and they didn't match the pitch. Complaints piled up fast across Google, Yelp, and social media. Steep prices, one customer citing $37 for 2 drinks. An undisclosed entertainment surcharge tacked onto bills. Some locations reportedly not taking cash, which struck people as odd for a self-described dive bar. But the loudest complaint was the music. Guests reported hearing Flo Rida, not George Strait. Others mentioned pop and R&B tracks, Whitney Houston covers, the Cranberries. One review said the place felt more like a Manhattan club than a Tennessee honky-tonk, a particularly pointed criticism given exactly what Brooks had said he wanted playing inside. Not every review was bad. Plenty praised the live bands and the scale of the space. But the opening week's negative narrative had already spread across the internet by the time the lawsuit broke later that year, compounding the damage to a brand built on delivering exactly what it promises. Here's a piece of the story a lot of coverage skips. Brooks had already alienated a large chunk of his core audience over a completely different controversy, months before the bar opened, and well over a year before the lawsuit went public. In June 2023, at a Billboard Country Live panel in Nashville, he was asked about the bar and confirmed it would serve every brand of beer, Bud Light included. At the time, Bud Light was in the middle of a boycott from conservative consumers after its promotional tie-in with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. Other country stars had made a show of banning the brand. Kid Rock filmed himself shooting cases of it. John Rich and Travis Tritt both said they wouldn't serve it. Brooks didn't just decline to follow suit. He said people were welcome at his bar if they came with love, and that if they couldn't, there were plenty of other bars on the Strip. The internet ran with a more hostile version of that line almost instantly. The backlash was fast. Fans posted videos smashing or trashing his CDs and merchandise. Forums declared decades-long fandom over. Go woke, go broke became the refrain. A New York politician announced he was deleting Brooks from his music library. Texas Governor Greg Abbott even amplified a fabricated story claiming Brooks had been booed off stage. Brooks doubled down in a Facebook live stream, saying inclusiveness had always been part of who he was, and he wasn't backing off it. It mattered because it hit the exact audience that had carried his career for 30 years, a conservative, traditional country base, at one of the most politically charged moments in recent memory. That erosion of goodwill was already baked in before the bar's rocky opening and long before the lawsuit. 3 separate wounds, not one. None of the headlines capture what people close to Brooks say the last 18 months have actually looked like for him. Sources close to him during the height of the legal scrutiny describe pressure unlike anything else in his career. Someone who's always taken criticism personally, now facing something aimed not at his music or his politics, but at his character as a husband and as a person. People around him have described disrupted sleep and visible strain, alongside what's been characterized as sustained anger. Not just at the allegations, but at the reality that even a full legal win can erase months of headlines. Yearwood, by all accounts, has been central to keeping him steady, standing beside him publicly, including performing together at President Jimmy Carter's state funeral in January 2025, appearing together at the Opry's 100th anniversary celebration that March, and at the unveiling of her Hollywood Walk of Fame star soon after. It's worth noting Yearwood was pulled into the legal filings too. Rowe's attorneys alleged she knew about the situation and didn't act, a claim that, given Rowe was originally her employee, put Yearwood in an extremely difficult spot despite decades of an otherwise unblemished reputation. Separately, Brooks mentioned to fans in late 2024 that he and Yearwood had seriously discussed buying a home in Ireland, after she reportedly fell in love with the country during a tour there. On its own, that's just a real estate conversation, but against the backdrop of everything else happening at the time, it read differently. This isn't actually the first time Brooks has weathered a major public storm, and the pattern matters. In the late 90s, he invented an entire alter ego, Chris Gaines, a fictional Australian rock musician with an invented backstory, and released a 1999 album under that persona meant to soundtrack a movie that never got made. He performed an entire Saturday Night Live set in character without breaking it. Reception ranged from confused to mocking, and the whole episode became industry shorthand for a star badly misjudging his audience. Back in 1991, the video for The Thunder Rolls, depicting domestic abuse with Brooks playing an unfaithful, violent husband, was banned by both CMT and TNN over its violent content. He defended it as an honest reflection of real life. It still won CMA Video of the Year that year. In 1993, a dispute with NBC over airing a music video nearly blew up his scheduled Super Bowl national anthem performance. He left the stadium 45 minutes before showtime before the standoff was resolved. That incident is widely credited with pushing the NFL toward requiring pre-recorded, rather than live, anthem performances going forward. And for years, he held his entire catalog off streaming services on principle over concerns about artist pay, not relenting until 2016, by which point a whole generation of Spotify native listeners had grown up with almost no access to his music. None of these controversies ended his career, but together, they paint a picture of someone who consistently believes he's right, is willing to absorb backlash rather than bend, and hasn't always read the room when it counted most. That pattern doesn't decide guilt or innocence in the current case, but it does add context to the man at the center of it. By early 2026, Brooks was juggling an unresolved federal lawsuit carrying the most serious public allegations of his career, the lingering reputational fallout from the bar's messy launch,